Peace and greetings. This is Artist, and this is Off the Mat. So, the eight limbs of yoga. It's something that is uh, commonly overlooked when people first get involved with uh, doing the yoga practice. And in my opinion, and also it's you know a lot of seasoned yoga practitioners and teachers who've been in it for a long time understand the value of looking at the eight limbs of yoga. Um, I've seen there's a, um, a teacher, a monk that I listen to sometimes on YouTube, and he talked about how um, you need those. He talked about it like a surgeon who is going to operate on a patient. And so he said those yamas and the niyamas are like the gloves and the protective clothing that the surgeon wears. So he doesn't get infected. And also, so he doesn't infect what he's doing. Okay, so how does that compare? So, what we're talking about here is when you practice yoga and then you move because you have so first of all the eight limbs of yoga are the yamas, the niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So the first two are the yamas and the niyamas. These are observances. These are things that you they're practices of internal and external things. Okay, we tend to like I was saying, it tends to get overlooked sometimes. And so what this monk was saying, what happens is that you um, can lose yourself in the yoga, because what happens is you start doing the yoga practice, the breathing is going, and then you become um, somewhat full of yourself, right? You're feeling your body is feeling strong, your mind is feeling crisp, and everything is firing on all cylinders. And so where do you go from here? Okay? And sometimes there can be a certain amount of disillusionment. You can fall too deeply into your ego. You can become obsessed with the yoga practice, obsessed with looking a certain way in an asana, obsessed with, um, you know, making sure that people know that that's what you do and that's who you are. All these kind of things, you get wrapped up in the ego. The yamas and the niyamas are designed to help you tame the ego. You don't crush the ego. Understand this. You don't crush the ego. The yamas and the niyamas are there to help you rein in and control the ego, because we need the ego. We need it for everyday life, right? We need it. So the yamas and the niyamas are there control the to help control the ego, to bring it into place. So you want to look at these two things first when you start a yoga practice. Okay, I'm not saying don't do a asana practice before you look at them. I'm saying do them in tandem, do together. When you get up in the morning and you do your yoga practice, spend some time after the asana and read your yamas and the niyamas. What are the yamas and the niyamas? Okay, so the yamas are inside observances, the niyamas are outside of the observances. So niyama, so looking at the yamas and the niyamas. First, yama niyama. The yamas are, you have the first one is ahimsa, and ahimsa translates to uh, non-violence. But when you go deeper into the definition of ahimsa, we're talking about the opposite of violence. What's the opposite of violence? The direct opposite of violence is peace. So what you're doing is, when you look at ahimsa, you're looking at propagating peace. Like, what can I do to help keep the peace? Because you may have to use violence to keep the peace. Quick example: if someone breaks into your home, they threaten you and your family, you have to use violence to protect you and your family to keep the peace. All right. So that's just one little small example. So you want to look at ahimsa as keeping peace, right? More than nonviolence, keeping the peace, and your own personal peace. The second one, so what you got ahimsa, and after ahimsa is asteya, or no, satya. Satya is truthfulness. So truthfulness, um, is pretty self-explanatory, being true to yourself, and not telling lies. The second, or the third one, so you've got ahimsa, satya, and then asteya. Asteya is non-stealing, right? And again, we're talking about the opposite. So steya is steal. Asteya, when you put the a in front of it, means the opposite. So the opposite of stealing is not necessarily non-stealing, but what's the opposite of stealing? It's giving. So that's what we're doing when we're talking about asteya. We're talking about giving. Okay, we're talking about giving. So asteya, and then you have, after asteya, you have ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is walking in the path of the divine, and what that means is that you are, um, doing what you feel you should be, what you do what you feel your higher self would do. And if you worship a deity, then you look at that deity, the characteristics of that deity, and you try to, be as much like that deity as you can. It's a very, relatable thing is, is a saying that says, what would Jesus do, right? And so that's what you're thinking about. Do whatever, I'm not saying Jesus, whatever it is that you worship. What would Buddha do? What would Krishna do? Whoever it is, whatever it is that you work with. Or what would my higher self do? The best part of me, the best person that I can be, what would that person do? So that's what you look at when you're looking at brahmacharya. And then, apahigraha. Apahigraha is, non-possessiveness. And it pretty much is, you don't want to try to hold on to anything. You don't want to try to control anything. You don't want to try to, you don't want to, keep things. You don't want to try to possess anything. You want to be able to, at any point in time, let things go. It's okay to have things, but don't let the things have you, right? So that's the yamas. The niyamas are, first one is satya. Satya is, cleanliness, um, clean mind, clean body, that whole thing. One of the things a person can do is they start working on the outside, right? You work on your room, uh, your car, your kitchen, wherever. Work on the outside. And then once you start working on the outside, cleaning things on the outside, what happens is it starts to organize things in your mind, and it starts to help to clear and clean your mind. Because you don't want to necessarily, clear your mind, empty your mind, because that's just, number one, it's not possible. And number two, you don't want to try to forget anything. You want to put things in the proper place. Okay. And that's something that I'll talk about in later videos. But you want to be able to put things, you want to categorize things and put them where they're supposed to go, not trying to delete them or forget them. Because if you do, you end up repeating them again. Right. So, anyway, Satya, or Satya is cleanliness. The next, it's Satya, and then it's, what's the next one? Satya, and the next one is Santosha. Santosha means contentment, and contentment, pretty much is, they say that, in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it says it's the key to bliss, right? Is to, be able to be content. And the next, of the, niyamas. So we got Satya, we have, um, what do we say? We said, Santosha, contentment. The next one is tapas, or tapaha, or tapas. And tapas means fire, it means, creating heat. And it also translates to, discipline, right? Having, a certain amount of discipline. And so, And so the next niyama is savadya, and savadya is self-study, and that's where you do your meditation work. Uh, you go and do yoga. You read ancient texts. You're doing these things in order to understand yourself. The spiritual work is self realization. That's what spiritual work is. Spiritual work is self realization, and so that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about sabbadia. It's self study. It's self study. Okay, and then the last of the yamas and the niyamas, last niyama is Ishvara Prahidaha, and this is cultivating all of it. This is pretty much um, giving it all up to the supreme being, whatever it is that you feel that, whatever it is for you, whatever that is, be it God, be it your higher self, be it the universe, whatever it is, Ishvana Prahitaha is that. And I like to talk about that in relationship to uh, when people have the conversation about religion and whether or not yoga is a religion. And I go back to Ishvara Prahidaha, which tells us that um, yes and no. If you want to turn it into a religion, if you want to worship whatever it is that you want to worship, Ishvara Prahidaha is there. It's Ishvara Prahidaha is whatever it is you consider to be your higher self, the higher being, whatever it is. So you can, if and are you so say for instance that you are a Christian, okay? Well, whatever you would put Jesus or God as the Jesus or God is your Ishvara Prahidaha. Ishvara Prahidaha. That is um uh your idea of worship. You can do all the other yoga practices because all the other yoga practices are just dealing with science, dealing with the mind and getting your mind and your body to make that connection. And it's whatever you consider, you know what I mean, to be that higher being, that idea of worship. So there you go. You've got your yamas and you've got your niyamas. So there you go. You've got your yamas and your niyamas. So the eight limbs yoga, when people miss those two, they really miss out on extracting the full benefit from the yoga practice. When you miss the yamas and the niyamas, because in a lot of times people will skip the yamas and the niyamas and go right to asana. Asana is the physical practice, is what you're doing. The next one, so you've got yama, niyama, asana. Asana is the physical practice. It's the movement. It's what you know what I mean. Is what we do in a room. After asana is pranayama. Pranayama is breath work, and it's breath work, and it really means energy work. But the way that we can connect with our energy the best is through our breath. If you notice, if you're excited, the breath is fast. If you're calm and cool, the breath is nice and soft. So you can change the breath however you want to, and it can change your mood however you want your mood to be, right? So, and then next after pranayama, so we have yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Pratyahara is sensory withdrawal. It's pulling your senses in and then turning them and focusing them where you want them to be. It's again reigning, taking control. What we're doing is taking control, and we're turning them in first to take control of them, to recognize them. Once we recognize them, take control of them, then we turn them to the outside, and we focus on what it is we want to focus on. So what do I mean by that? Well, you a lot of sometimes we get distracted. The senses are very good at distracting us from what it is that we tell ourselves we need to be doing or want to do. A clear example is, say, for instance, you're sitting down and you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to sit down for a few minutes and just not do anything. I'm going to sit here on this couch and stare at the wall and just do nothing. Any number of things will come up. You can hear something in the kitchen, and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, somebody doing something," and then they cook, and you smell it. Like, ooh, what are they cooking? Or you can hear some music way in the background in another room in the house, and you're like, "Wait a minute, somebody playing music? I wonder what they're playing." And even still, you can be sitting there and you can smell something. You're like, what is this? I smell. Your senses are always on. Okay, always. What we have to do is learn to pull them in and control them, and that's pratyahara. So after pratyahara, we have uh, dhyana and dhyana, or dhyana, and those are concentration and meditation. Concentration, concentrating on one thing, putting your mind on one point of focus. Okay, and then the meditation part. So those three things go together. They sync up really well together. You concentrate, meditate, and then when you do those things, and so when you have all of the lines, you've looked at the yamas and the niyamas, and you've done a study on them. You're working with asana. You're working with pranayama, the breath. You're working with withdrawing your senses, and then those things you're working on that, and then you start to concentrate on one thing. What is that one thing you're concentrating on, right? And then you're concentrating on that one thing. And then when you do that, it slides and moves into meditation. You can't. So, a common misconception is just, and to a certain extent, it's true. You can just sit down and close your eyes and meditate. But you want to put yourself in the best possible scenario in order to extract the full benefit from your meditation. In order to do that, you want to look at all of the limbs of yoga. You work through all of these things, and then it culminates in the end with the meditation. And when you work through all of those things, you're in the meditation. You get one, there's one more thing that comes after the meditation. That's samadhi. That's what they call absorption or equanimity. I like that word equanimity because it means equal or balance. It means that things are going to be, things are still going to be, right? They're still going to be. They're not going to be all, I'm enlightened, everything is wonderful and beautiful. No, it's, you now have balance. You now have equanimity. You now have control, right? Over whatever it is that you are concentrating on in your meditation. So it can be work related, it can be spiritual related, whatever it is that you've gone through the meditation, and then the concentration and meditation, and then comes the absorption or equanimity. Become equal to that thing. You become absorbed in that thing. So those are your eight limbs of yoga. Again, they're commonly overlooked, and it's something that folks need to really try to look at, looking at those eight limbs of yoga. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, or a particular topic that they would like for me to bring up and discuss, you can leave a message in the comments, or you can DM me, direct message me. So until then, thank you for watching. Peace.